You could almost feel the silence before anyone said a single word. Not because Ruth Langsford or Eamonn Holmes had appeared together on television again, but because a story that once symbolized stability in British broadcasting had taken another painful turn. For years, viewers welcomed them into their homes as though they were part of the family. Their playful disagreements, effortless chemistry, and familiar warmth made them one of television's most recognizable couples. Now, instead of sharing light-hearted moments on screen, reports suggest they are preparing to face one another in court over the division of their shared fortune. And for many people watching this unfold, the financial dispute isn't the real story. It's what it says about how dramatically life can change, even for couples who once seemed unbreakable. When news first emerged in 2024 that Ruth and Eamonn were separating, it genuinely caught audiences off guard. After nearly 3 decades together, they had become more than presenters. They represented consistency. Their relationship had survived changing television schedules, demanding careers, and years in the public eye. That's why so many fans admitted feeling unexpectedly emotional when the announcement arrived. It reminded people that no relationship is immune to life's challenges, regardless of how happy it may appear from the outside. What perhaps made the story resonate even more was the contrast between the public image and the private reality. On screen, their conversations often felt spontaneous and authentic. They teased one another, disagreed with a smile, and seemed comfortable enough to laugh at themselves. Looking back now, some viewers have started revisiting old clips, wondering whether they missed subtle signs that all wasn't well. Of course, hindsight can be misleading, and there's no confirmed evidence that their television appearances reflected problems behind closed doors. But it's understandable why audiences are looking back through a different emotional lens. Now the conversation has shifted again. Reports suggest that disagreements over property and finances have become increasingly difficult, with both sides determined to protect what they believe is fair. It's important to remember that these claims come from media reports and unnamed sources, and neither party has publicly confirmed many of the specific details. Still, the possibility of a courtroom battle has added another emotional chapter to a story that many hoped would remain respectful despite the separation. One detail that has particularly captured public attention is the reported complexity of untangling a life built together over so many years. When two people spend decades working side by side, building careers that often overlap, separating personal achievements from shared success is rarely straightforward. It's not simply about houses, savings, or investments. Their careers became intertwined with their relationship. Television audiences often saw them as a package, and that shared identity undoubtedly carried professional as well as personal value. Another layer that makes this story especially emotional is the timing. Eamonn Holmes has continued dealing with serious health challenges following his ongoing recovery after suffering a stroke and experiencing mobility difficulties. Watching someone navigate physical recovery while simultaneously facing major personal upheaval naturally evokes sympathy from many viewers. At the same time, Ruth has continued appearing on television, maintaining professionalism while inevitably facing questions about her private life. Both situations remind us that public figures often carry emotional burdens long before cameras begin rolling. It's also impossible to ignore how quickly public perception evolves. When news first broke about their separation, much of the conversation centered on sadness and disbelief. Then attention shifted toward Eamonn's new relationship, prompting mixed reactions across social media. Some people felt he had moved on quickly, while others argued that outsiders simply don't know what happens inside a marriage. That difference in opinion demonstrates how easily audiences can form conclusions without having access to the complete picture. The truth is, only those directly involved truly understand everything that led them here. There's another fascinating aspect to this story that speaks volumes about British television culture. For decades, viewers have developed unusually close relationships with daytime presenters. Unlike actors playing fictional characters, presenters often appear as themselves. They accompany viewers through breakfast, lunch, and everyday routines, creating an emotional familiarity that feels surprisingly personal. That's why stories involving television personalities frequently generate stronger reactions than ordinary celebrity headlines. People don't simply feel informed, they feel emotionally connected, Perhaps that's why every new update continues making headlines. It's not necessarily because audiences are fascinated by legal proceedings or financial settlements. Instead, many people are trying to reconcile two very different versions of the same story: the cheerful couple who shared jokes across the sofa, and the individuals now reportedly facing difficult negotiations over a life they once built together. That emotional contrast is what keeps drawing attention back to this story. Throughout all of this, it's worth remembering something that often gets lost amid dramatic headlines. Divorce is rarely defined by one single moment. Relationships evolve gradually, and endings are often shaped by countless private conversations that never become public knowledge. While headlines naturally focus on conflict, legal representation, and reported disagreements, those details only reveal a fraction of a much larger human story. Behind every courtroom date are years of memories, shared milestones, family experiences, and personal sacrifices that outsiders can never fully understand. For viewers who watched Ruth and Eamonn together for so many years, perhaps that's the hardest part to process. Familiar television moments that once felt comforting now carry a different emotional weight. The laughter still exists in old clips, but it now sits alongside the knowledge that life eventually took a different direction. It's a reminder that even relationships admired by millions can experience struggles invisible to everyone else.